Welcome to Preeminent Test Prep. Today is day 59 in our 90-day SAT Prep series. Today I'll be going through the Math with Calculator section of SAT Practice Test 6. If you're following our program, then yesterday you went through SAT Practice Test 6, the Math with Calculator section on your own, practicing that same pacing procedure that I outlined a few days ago. So today what I'll be doing is I'll be going through it following that pacing procedure where I do questions 1 through 18, then I do 19 through 22 if they look easy, then I do 31 through 35, and then I look at 36 to 38. If they look easy, I do them, and then I go back and finish the multiple choice. Okay, so I'll be following that same order of questions that I recommend that you do here. I'll also be showing you pretty much the most efficient way to answer these questions, how I find any tips and tricks and advice I use to get to the answer quicker. Take notes on differences in how you answer the questions versus how I do, because a lot of times, in my opinion, there are certain steps you can take that can be make it shorter to solve the problem or make it quicker or faster. So those are the steps that I'm going to be trying to show you here. So with that, it's going to be 55 minutes, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so time starts now. All right, which expression is equivalent to 2x squared minus 4 and then minus all of this? First thing I'm going to check is this last term, because I see that we have a different last term and it looks like 3 out of the 4 of them. So I'll go ahead and look at my last term. I have minus 4 and then minus negative 7. That's going to be negative 4 plus 7, which will give me a 3 at my end. That's going to be only option A, so number 1 is going to have to be A. All right, question 2. The graph above shows the positions of Paul and Mark during a race. Paul and Mark each ran at a constant rate. Mark was given a head start. To shorten the distance he needed to run, Paul finished the race in 6 seconds and Mark finished in 10 seconds. According to the graph, Mark was given a head start of how many yards? Okay, well we see that Mark, his line is right here. That's where it starts. Therefore, his head start must be 18, since the distance, the midpoint between 12 and 24 is at 18. So the answer there has to be 18, which I see is going to be C. So number 2, answer there is going to be C. All right, question number 3. We have snow fell, then stopped for a time. Then when the snow began to fall again, it fell at a faster rate than it had initially, assuming none of the snow melted during the time indicated. Which of the following could model the total accumulation of snow versus time? Okay, well we know that snow is falling, okay, so that accumulation is going to go up. Then it says it stops for a while, so it's going to flatline. Then it's going to increase at a faster rate since more snow is falling per minute. So answer choice A is perfect there. So answer for number 3 there is going to have to be A. All right, question 4. A website hosting service charges its businesses a one-time setup fee of $350 plus D dollars for each month. If a business owner paid $1,010 for the first 12 months, which of the following, including the setup fee, which of the following could be the value of D? Okay, we just set this equal to 1010. We subtract 350 to each side to get rid of that setup fee. Okay, we know that he said that he had 12 months, so that'd be plus 12D. Okay, we know that this is gone. Then we divide each side by that 12 months, get rid of it, and solve for D. Okay, so 1,010 minus 350. I'll plug that in my calculator real quick. 1,010 minus 350. That's going to give me 660. We have to divide that by 12, and that's going to give us D. Okay, which I'll plug that in my calculator as well, and that's going to give me 55. So my answer then for D is going to be 55, which is answer choice D for number 4. All right, question 5. So we've got an inequality here. We're asked for which of the following is equivalent to the inequality above. Okay, first thing I see right off the bat is that 3 is a factor in all of these, so I'm just going to try to divide everything by 3. So 12 over 3 is going to give me 4, and then negative 9 over 3 will give me negative 3y. 6x over 3 will give me 2x. So I'm looking for 2x minus 3y. I see I have that right here. That's greater than 4. So B then will be my answer for number 5. All right, moving on to question 6. Where do people get most of their medical information? The table above shows a summary of 1,200 responses to a survey question. Based on the table, how many of those surveyed get most of their medical information from either a doctor or the internet? Okay, we need doctor or the internet, or I'm sorry, either a doctor or the internet. So that means we have to take the sum of the doctor and the internet's percentages. So 63% plus 13% is going to give me 76%. So I've got 76%. I've got to multiply that by my 1,200 responses. So that's going to be 1,200 times 0.76. I'll plug that in my calculator and see what that gets me. 1,200 times 0.76. That's going to give me 912. Okay, that's 912. So my answer there is going to be C. All right, now we got question 7. All right, question 7. The members of a city council wanted to assess the opinions of all city residents about converting an open field into a dog park. The city sampled 500 city residents who own dogs. Already, I know that's a biased sample since we want city residents to include all of them, not just those who own dogs. This is a biased sample. The survey showed the majority of those sampled were in favor of the dog park, which the following is true about the city council's survey. I'm looking for something that says that it's a biased sample. So we have A, it shows the majority of residents are in favor. No. B, the survey sample should have included more residents who are dog owners. No. C, the survey sample should have consisted entirely of residents who don't own dogs. No. D, the survey sample is biased because it does not represent all city residents. That's true. So 7 there is going to be D. All right, question 8. We got ice cream and topping selections. The table above shows the flavors of ice cream and toppings chosen by people at a party. Each person chooses one flavor of ice cream and one topping. Of the people who chose vanilla, so that's going to be this column right here. What fraction chose hot fudge as a topping? I see that's going to be 8 over my total, which will be 13. So 8 over 13. So that's going to be answer choice. It looks like a D. Yep, so our answer there is going to be D for number 8. All right, question number 9. So it says the total area of a coastal city is 92.1 square miles, of which 11.3 square miles is water. If the city had a population of 621,000 people in the year 2010, which is the following closest to population density and people per square mile of land area, key part there is that it's per square mile of land area of the city at the time. Okay, that means we have to subtract our water area of 11.3 from our 92.1. So we're going to have our population of 621,000 all divided by our 92.1 total area, subtracting our 11.3 water area to get that land area. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Put it in our calculator. So 621,000 all divided by 92.1 minus 11.3. Okay, when we do that, let me just quick re-put that in my calculator a minute. Okay, that's going to give us 7,685. Right, which we know is going to be just about 7,690. So our answer for number 9 there is going to be B. All right, moving on, we got question 10. Okay, question 10. Between 1497 and 1500, Amerigo Vespucci embarked on 2 voyages around the world, or to the New World. In his letters, the first voyage lasted 43 days longer than the second voyage. Okay, so first one lasted 43 days longer than the second voyage. So the second voyage plus 43 equals our first. Now we're told that the 2 voyages combined lasted a total of 1,003 days. How many days did the second voyage last? Okay, well the total is going to be the second plus the first. We know the first is S plus 43, so we can call that plus S plus 43. We know that that's got to equal 1,003. Subtract 43 from each side. Okay, subtract 43 from each side. That's going to leave us with 960 equals 2S. Divide each side by 2 to get rid of that. 960 over 2 is going to leave us with 480 for our second voyage. So the correct answer there is going to have to be B for number 10. All right, question number 11. For the solution xy to the system of equations above, what's the value of x minus y? All right, well, we're going to go ahead and solve for x here. So what I see immediately is I can go ahead and add these to get rid of my y, because 3y plus negative 3y gives me 0y. I have 7x plus 6x, that's 13x. That's going to be 8 plus 5, that's 13 as well. So therefore, I know that x is going to equal 1. Right, dividing each side by 13, we see that x equals 1. At that point, I just go ahead and plug in a 1. We'll pick this one up here. So we got 7 times 1, that's 7. 7 plus 3 times what gives me 8? Well, I subtract 7 from each side. I know 8 minus 7 leaves me with 1. So now I have 1 equals 3y, divide each side by 3, and I see that y equals 1/3. Okay, so x is 1. We have 1 then minus 1/3. That's going to leave us with 2/3. So our answer there is going to be B for number 11. All right, moving down, we got question 12. Okay, 12 through 14 are referring to the following. We've got a graph, sunflower growth. We have a time, height. All right, so we've got over which of the following time periods is the average growth rate of the sunflower the least? Okay, well, I'll take a look. My growth rate being the least is where going to be my height changes the least over time. I see that that's going to be right around here. So I'm looking for an answer saying something with 77 to 84 or something with 70 to 77, right around there. Okay, I see that I've got, of the periods that I have, the latest one is 63 to 84, and I see that that's going to be where my slope is the smallest. So that's going to be the correct answer there. So answer for 12 there is going to be D. All right, and so now we're going to go ahead and go on to 13. So we switch over to 13. The function h is defined by h of t equals a t times t plus b, where a and b are constants, models of the height in centimeters of the sunflower, after t days of growth during a time period in which the growth is approximately linear. What does A represent? Well, A then is going to represent our growth and our height per day. B would be our starting height. So A would be our growth and our height per day. So let's take a look at our options. A, the predicted number of centimeters of sunflower grows each day during the period. Yes, that is correct, right? It's not the predicted height in centimeters because that's what h of t is. It's not the predicted height in centimeters at the end of the period or the beginning. Not the predicted total increase in the height during the period. Okay, that A is just being that predicted number of centimeters we're growing each day. That's our slope. All right, now we got question 14. So we've got a growth rate of a sunflower from day 14 to 35 is nearly constant. On this interval, which of the following best models the height h in centimeters t days after it begins to grow? Okay, let's go take a look at day 14 to 35. We want to draw a straight line down to find our intercept. Okay, so we follow this line down. We see we're going to have a negative intercept, and we see that we're increasing from right around. We can move this one up a little bit to 40, move this one up from right around 40 to 70, so that's going to be right around 30 over 7 as our slope. So we're looking at a slope of right around 4 with a negative intercept. Okay, I see I have a slope of 4.5 with a negative intercept, so that'll be my answer there. So 14 is going to be B. All right, now we've got question 15. Okay, question 15. We've got a table of x and y, which of the following relates y to x for the values in the table above. Okay, I see if I increase my x by 1, I increase my y by 14 over 4. Okay, so I got positive 14 over 4x. That's my slope there. I see what I'm starting at. If I were to go back by 14 over 4, well, the other thing is I don't even have to check that because I see that my only option here with that same slope, these are exponential, so they're going to be wrong because I see I also go up by 14 over 4 going from 2 to 3, so I know I'm going to be dealing with a linear. The only one that with that same linear slope is D, so D is going to have to be my answer for 15. Okay, now I got question 16. I've got two triangles, which of the following is equal to the ratio BC over AB. Okay, I know that these are going to be similar triangles because if this is a 90 right here, then that 32 has to combine with a 58-degree angle to get that 90. Same thing over here, we're going to have a 32-degree angle. Okay, so at this point I'm asked for BC over AB. What's equivalent to that? Well, I see BC is my 58 to my 90, so I find my 58 to my 90 over here. That's going to be DF. Okay. Now I'd look at AB. So I know AB. I see that that's my hypotenuse, right? So now I find my hypotenuse over here. I see that that's DE. So I'm looking for DF over DE. Okay, I see that that's going to be answer choice B, DF over DE. So my answer for 16 then is going to be B. All right, now we've got question 17. Okay, I've got riser height and tread depth on a stairway. When designing a stairway, an architect can use the riser tread formula, where H is the riser height in inches, D is the tread depth. For any given stairway, the riser heights are the same, tread depths are the same, number of steps is the same as the number of its rises. For example, there are 5 steps in the stairway above. The total rise of a stairway is the sum of the riser heights as shown in the figure. Which of the following expresses H? So we're just solving for H. So we'll go find our formula. Solving for H here, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to subtract D from each side to get rid of it there. Now we're going to have 25 minus D equals 2H. Okay, 2H. We just divide each side by 2. So we're going to have 25 minus D over 2 is going to be what H is. 25 minus D over 2. Okay, I see that that's going to be right here. Okay, 25 minus D over 2. So 17, my answer there is going to be B. All right, now I've got question 18. So 18, it says, some building codes require that for indoor stairways, the tread depth must be at least 9 inches. Okay, so depth must be at least 9 inches. Riser height must be at least 5 inches. According to the riser tread formula, which the following represents the set of all possible values for the riser height that meets this code requirement. Okay, well, what we're going to do here is we know H has to be at least greater than 5. So we're going to use this equation down here that we just made. Okay, if H has got to be equal to 5 or greater, we can put a 5 in there. Now we know that D's got to be less than 9, I believe it said. Okay, or D's got to be greater than 9. Okay, so D has to be greater than 9. So if our depth has to be 9 or more, then we're going to have 25 minus at least 9, which will leave us with 25 minus 9 is going to be 16. 16 over 2 then would be 8, right? So that is going to be greater than that 5 that it had to be at least at a minimum of. So then if our height's got to be at least 5, so height's got to be at least 5, we know that then our height can have a maximum of 8, right? Because anytime we increase our depth, we're going to decrease our height. Okay, so height has to be between 5 and 8. So my answer there is going to have to be answer choice C for number 18. All right, now I've got question 19. Okay, we have an architect wanting to use, now keep in mind at that point we've just gone through 1 through 18. Okay, since this is a paired problem, I'm going to go ahead and attack 19. Now keep in mind 19 to 22, if at any point there I see a difficult problem, that's when I'm going to make my jump down to 31 to 35. If I don't see any difficult problem between 19 and 22, then after 22 that's when I make my jump down to 31 to 35. So an architect wants to use the riser tread formula to design a stairway with a total rise of 9 feet, a riser height between 7 and 8 inches, and an odd number of steps. With the architect's constraints, which of the following must be the tread depth in inches of the stairway? Okay, well we want it to rise 9 feet, so we're going to go 9 times 12, so we're dealing with all inches. Okay, when we do that, I'll plug that in my calculator. I believe that that's 108. Let me just check. I see that that is 108, so we're going to have 108 inches that we have to rise. So 108 inches, that's going to have to equal our height times our number of steps. Okay, so height times, we'll call it n for number of steps. Now we know that our height has to be between 7 and 8, so to find our possible number of steps, we're just going to put in a 7 here, right? So it'll be 108 over 7 equals n, and then 108 over 8 equals n. Okay, and then we're just going to put those in our calculator to see what they give us. Now keep in mind n has to be an odd number because we want an odd number of steps. Let's put those in our calculator. We got 108 over 8. That's going to give us 13.5. Keep in mind we have to have a whole number. And then we're going to have 108 over 7. And that's going to give us 15.4. Okay, now we need an odd number. What is the only whole odd number between these two? Well, that's going to be 15 because 14 is even, so 15 is going to have to be n. So now that we know that 15 has to be n, we can do 108 over 15 to solve for h. So when we put that in our calculator, that's going to give us 7.2 for h. Okay, now keep in mind we're asked for the tread depth. Since we're asked for the tread depth, we go back and we're going to use either formula, whatever one we want. We can go ahead and use that one that we were given up here. We know that 25 or 2 times h plus d equals 25. So we're going to have 2 then times our height of 7.2. So 2 times our height of 7.2 plus d has to equal 25. So 2 times 7.2, that's going to be 14.4. So we got to subtract 14.4 from our 25. Now we plug that in our calculator. 25 minus 14.4. That's going to leave us with 10.6 equals D. So D is going to equal 10.6. So answer there is going to have to be C for number 19. Okay, so at this point we're looking at for any difficult problem. Anything we see that's difficult, we're going to go ahead and skip to 31 through 35. So we see here we've got what's the sum of the solutions. This one's easy. Okay, one possible solution is going to be x equals 6. Since we flip that sign right there to find our solution, flip our sign over here. The sum of the solutions then is going to be 6 minus 0.7, which is going to be 5.3. So answer there is going to be C for number 20. All right, number 21. Okay, 21 also doesn't look too bad. Okay, a study was done on the weights of different types of fish in a pond. Random sample of fish were caught and marked in order to ensure none were weighed more than once. Sample contained 150 largemouth bass, of which 30% weighed more than 2 pounds, which of the following conclusions is best supported by the sample data. Okay, well, we're dealing with largemouth bass. We see option A says the majority of all fish in the pond weigh less than 2 pounds. No, because we're talking about largemouth bass. They were the only fish in our sample. Average weight of all fish in the pond is approximately 2 pounds. Once again, we can't say that. And then option C also says all fish in the pond. We can't say that. So option D will have to be our answer. It says approximately 30% of all largemouth bass in the pond weigh more than 2 pounds. That one's going to be the best conclusion that we can draw there. So 21 answer there is going to have to be D. All right, number 22, if it looks easy, we're going to go ahead and solve it. It looks pretty easy, just a table. In 2008, there were 21 states with 10 or more electoral votes, as shown in the table above. Based on the table, what's the median number for the 21 states? Okay, well, I've got frequency right here. So frequency is basically how many times these electoral votes show up, right, in these states. So I've got a 4 there, a 4 there. So at that point, I've gotten rid of 8. I'll go down here. I get rid of 4 here. Plus 2, that's 6, plus another 2. Now I've gotten rid of 8 down here and 8 up here. I'll get rid of 1, 2 there. Now I'm going to get rid of 1, 2 here, and I'm left with 1 here. So my answer for the median is going to be 15. So that's going to be answer choice B. So that's for 22. Answer there is going to be B. So now keep in mind at this point, this is where we switch over to the questions 31 through 35, since we just answered 22. Alright, a group of friends decided to divide the $800 cost of a trip equally among themselves. When two of those friends decided not to go on the trip, those remaining friends still divided the $800 cost equally. But each friend's share of the cost increased by $20. How many friends were in the group originally? Okay, well, we know our original cost is $800. It was split between the original number of members, which we'll call NO for the initial number of members, or we can just call it N. We don't need to include the O. And we know that that's going to equal our original cost per member, which we'll call C. Now, we know that our new cost per member is $20 more, so that's going to be C plus 20. And we know that that's equal to our $800 divided by the number of people we had originally minus the two who left. So now at this point, what we're going to do is we're just going to plug in this C into this equation right here and then solve for N. So when we do that, we're going to have 800 over N plus 20 is going to equal our 800 N over N minus 2. At this point, we got to get all of our N's out of our denominator, so we got to multiply each side by N minus 2 and also by N. So multiplying by N here, that's going to cancel with that 800, so we'll just have an 800 there, and then we'll have plus 20N. And we know that that's going to mean we're also going to have to, so we're multiplying this side by N. We do that, that cancels. We got to multiply our other side by N as well. Okay, so multiplying this by N as well. Okay, our N minus 2 here is going to cancel, so we're going to have 800N on this side then. And then we have to multiply by N minus 2 over here as well. So N minus 2 over here. Okay, so that's going to have to get distributed to this 800 and then also to this 20N. Okay, so what's 800 times N? That's going to give me 800N. What's 800 times negative 2? That's going to give me negative 1600. Now what's 20N times N? That's going to give me plus 20N squared. And then what's plus 20N times negative 2? That's going to give me minus 40N. Okay, that's all equal to 800N. At this point, we go ahead and we solve for N. So to do that, we're going to get all of our N's on one side and then set it equal to 0 and then factor it. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 800N from over here. Okay, subtracting 800N. We know 800N over here combined with this negative 40N, that's going to give us 760N. Now we're subtracting 800N from that. That's going to give us negative 40N. Okay, we've got a negative 1600 there. That's going to have to stay and drop down. We're going to have a plus 20N squared that's going to be over here then. Okay, that's all set equal to 0. Now we go ahead and factor. We know that 20 can come out of all of that. So we'll pull out a 20. Then we'll have N squared minus 2, 20, or minus 2N. And then we'll have a minus, I believe that's going to be 80. Okay, that's going to be set equal to 0. Alright, so at this point, all we got to do is factor out this right here, this N squared minus 2N minus 80. When you're looking for factors of 80 that have a difference of 2, or factors of negative 80, right? So factors of negative 80, we know that that's going to be a negative 10, right, to get this negative 2 here, times a positive 8, n plus 8. That's going to give us negative 80, and that's going to give us a difference of that negative 2. Okay, set that equal to 0. Now keep in mind our number of friends has to be positive, therefore our original number of friends is going to have to be that 10 there, right? Because we're going to flip that sign, get a positive, so our answer there is going to have to be 10. So that's for number 31. Alright, at this point we move to 32. What value of x is satisfying the equation above? Well, we got 2 times 5x right here. We're going to distribute it. We're just going to have to distribute and then solve for it, right? So we have 2 times 5x, that's 10x. I've got a minus 8x. Okay, so that's minus 8x. That's going to leave me with 2x. And then I have 2 times negative 20. That's going to give me negative 40. Negative 40 minus 15. That's going to give me negative 55. Okay, I'm going to have to add 55 to each side. Add 55 to 7. That's going to leave me with 62. So I got 2x equals 62, dividing each side by 2 then. Dividing each side by 2 there is going to give me 31. So x is going to have to equal 31. 31. Because 62 over 2 is 31. So answer for 32 is going to be 31. Alright, now we got question 33. So a laboratory supply company produces graduated cylinders, each with an internal radius of 2 inches and an internal height between 7.75 inches and 8 inches. What is one possible volume rounded to the nearest cubic inch of a graduated cylinder produced by this company? Okay, we know volume of a graduated cylinder, that's going to be pi r squared times our height. We know that our radius is 2, so we're going to have pi times 2 squared, which is 4, so we're going to have 4 pi then, times our height. We know our height's anywhere from 7.75 to 8, so we could just call it 7.8, right? Or we can pick, it has an internal height between 7.75 and 8, so we'll just go ahead and pick 7.8. Right, we multiply that, put it in our calculator, so we're going to have 7.8 times 4 pi times 4 pi, and that's going to give me 98.0. Okay, it says to, does it say to round? Round to the nearest cubic inch. Okay, so answer there we could do 98. All right, now we've got question 34. In the xy plane, the graph of y equals 3x squared minus 14x intersects the graph of y equals x at point 0, 0. And AA, what's the value of A? All right, well, if we know that we're intersecting at 0, 0 and AA, what's the value of A? Okay, well, we can go ahead and plug in. We've got y equals x at these points, AA. What's the value of A? All right, let me just go down. So we've got key parts here. We've got our equation. We've got two pairs of points. We're asked to find the value of A. So what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to just go ahead and just solve for this system of equations. So if we know that y is equal to x, what we're going to do is we're just going to plug in an x. For y then, we're going to have then x equals 3x squared minus 14x. Okay, we subtract x from each side. We get 0 there. Subtract x from each side. We're going to have 3x squared. That's going to be minus 15x. At that point, we factor out 3x. So we're going to have 3x then times x minus 5. So at that point then we know that x is going to have to equal 5. So x will have to equal 5. We're told that the point is AA, which means that A is going to have to equal 5. Okay, so answer for 34 is going to have to be 5. All right, now we got question 35. Okay, keep in mind that this is kind of like the last one, and then we take a look at 36 through 38. The line with the equation 4/5 x plus 1/3 y equals 1 is graphed in the xy plane. What is the x-coordinate of the x-intercept of the line? All right, well, my x-intercept is where y equals 0, so I can plug in a 0 there. 4/5 x equals 1. I know I have to multiply by my reciprocal. Therefore, x is going to have to equal 5 over 4. Okay, so 5 over 4 will be my answer for 35. 36 looks like it is actually going to take a while because we're probably going to have to solve something using means there. So at this point, I can quick jump down to 37 and 38, see if they look pretty easy. They look like they could take a little bit of time. So at this point, I'm actually going to choose to go back to my multiple choice section. Okay, so I'm going to work back to my multiple choice section, find where I left off, which is going to be at 23, I believe, because I answered 22. Okay, I see I've got 23 right there. So at this point, I'm going to go through 23, see if I can get through 30, and then go back to 35 or 36 through 38. So the height versus time for a bouncing ball. Okay, so I've got my time elapsed as part of an experiment as ball was dropped and allowed to bounce repeatedly off the ground until it came to rest. The graph above represents the relationship between the time elapsed after the ball was dropped and the height of the ball above the ground. After it was dropped, how many times was the ball at a height of 2 feet? Okay, I just draw a line from a height of 2 feet. How many times was that ball crossing that line? I see it crosses here, here, and here, so that's going to be 3 times. So my answer there is going to have to be C for number 23. All right, number 24, a customer's monthly water bill was $75.74. Due to a rate increase, her monthly bill is now $79.86. To the nearest tenth of a percent, by what percent did the water bill increase? Okay, we're going to use new minus old over old. Our new price is 79.86. Our old price was 75.74. We divide by our old price of 75.74. Okay, plug this in our calculator, see what we get. I know 79.86 minus 75.74. That's going to give me 4.12. I divide that by 75.74, and that's going to give me 0.0543. Keep in mind, I got to multiply this by 100 to get it as a percent. So multiplying by 100 to get it as a percent. So when I multiply by 100 to get it as a percent, I'm going to get 5.4% because I'm rounding to the nearest tenth. So my answer there is going to be D. Okay, so 24, answer to that one is going to be D. All right, now I've got question 25. Some values of the linear function f are shown in the table above. What is the value of f of 3? Okay, f of 3 means that x is going to be 3. I see if I go from, I have an x or a y intercept at -2, obviously. I see if I increase by 2x, I increase by 6y. Okay, so I'm increasing by 6 for every 2x that I increase. Okay, so y then is going to equal that 6 increase for every 2x minus 2. So I just plug in a 3 then. I know 6 over 2 is 3. 3 times 3 is going to give me 9. 9 minus 2 is going to give me 7. So my answer there is going to have to be B. Okay, so 25, answer there is B. All right, now I got 26. Okay, I've got a gear ratio RS is the ratio of the number of teeth of 2 connected gears. The ratio of the number of RPMs of the 2 gear wheels is SR, which I see is the opposite of RS. In the diagram below, gear A is turned by the motor. Gear A causes B and C to turn as well. If the gear A is rotated by at a rate of 100 RPMs, so we've got 100 RPMs for gear A, what's the number of RPMs of gear C? Okay, well, if I look at my ratio of teeth from gear A to gear C, I see that that's going to be 20. We have gear ratio RS, right, ratio number of teeth of 2 connected gears. We can call this one, right here we'll label this one R, we'll label this one S. Okay, we know R to S is, we'll go R over S, right, we know that's going to be 20 over 10. Okay, so if we have 100 RPMs of gear A, then we know that it's going to have to be 200 for gear C, since we have to flip or since we're going to have ratio SR for the number of RPMs of gear wheels, right? So since this one right here has half as many teeth, it has to have double the amount of RPMs as gear A. So if it's got half the amount of teeth, it's got to have double the RPMs, therefore it's going to have 200 RPMs. Okay, so answer there is going to be C for number 26. Okay, that's because it has half the amount of teeth. We see that it flips that ratio, which means it's going to have double the RPMs. Okay, since it's got half the amount of teeth, it's going to have double the RPMs. All right, next thing that we got here is question 27. In the XY plane, the graph of this thing here is a circle. What's the radius of the circle? Okay, radius is going to be dealing with this right here. First thing I see immediately is that I can take a 2 out here, a 2 out here, a 2 out here, and a 2 out here. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Keep in mind, I'm also going to have to take that and divide by 2. So I'm going to divide my whole thing by 2 because I want to get x squared. So now I've got x squared minus 3x plus y squared plus 1 equals 22.5. Okay, in order to get minus 3x, I have to have x minus 1.5 squared, x minus 1.5 squared. Okay, minus 1.5 times minus 1.5 gives me positive 2.25, so I got to add that to my 22.5. Next thing that I see is I have y squared plus 1. To get to that plus 1, I'm going to have y plus 0.5 squared. 0.5 times 0.5 is going to be plus 0.25, because 0.5 squared, 0.25, I add that to that 22.5 and that 2.25. I see that's going to end up giving me 25, so my answer there, when I take the square root of r squared to give my radius, then is going to be 5. So my answer there is going to be A. All right, now I've got question 28, so I'll go ahead and scroll down there, question 28. Two different points on a number line are both 3 units from a point with coordinate -4. Which of the following equations gives the coordinates of both points? Okay, one thing that you need to understand here is the equation for having something that's certain units from a coordinate. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to set the unit difference, right? In this case, the units from this point is 3. You're going to put that as an equal sign, and then you're going to have the absolute value of x minus whatever your coordinate point is. So it's the equation that you're going to use is x minus a equals the distance, right? In this case, our distance is 3. Okay, it's 3 units from this point. We know our coordinate is -4, so we put a -4 in for a. We see that x minus -4 is going to create an x plus 4, so that's going to be our equation right there. So we see that that's going to be answer choice A. Okay, so the big thing that you need to understand from that is that you're going to have x minus a and the absolute value equals our distance. Our distance is d. Our a is -4. Put that in, solve for your answer there. So that's an equation you should put in your notes if you don't have it there. All right, so answer for 28 there is going to be A. Now we got question 29 and 30. Okay, so motor powers a model car so that after starting from rest, the car travels s inches in t seconds, where s equals 16 times t square root t, which of the following gives the average speed in the car in inches per second over the first t seconds it starts. Okay, well if it's traveling s distances, we know that speed is equal to our distance over our time. We know that our distance is 16 t root t. We see our t's are going to cancel here, root t. Our t's cancel right there. We're going to have 16 root t. So our answer there is going to be B for number 29. Okay, now we've got number 30. So this is our last multiple choice. Scatter plot above showing the amount of electricity generated in millions of megawatt hours of nuclear sources over a 10-year period. I see that I've got a downward sloping, or a downward parabola, right? Downward facing parabola of the following equation. What's going to model my scatter plot? Okay, since it's going down on both sides, it's going to have a negative in front of my x squared, so I can get rid of A, I can get rid of C. Next thing that I see is that I have a 0 right here, which means my intercept has to be a positive right around 750. I see the only one of that positive is D, so my answer is going to have to be D for number 30. At this point, I go down and I answer my last 3 problems remaining. In this case, they're on the free response. Okay, so you notice how I'm following my pacing guide that I showed you before. So we have Andrew and Maria collected 6 rocks. The masses are shown above. The mean of the masses of rocks Maria collected is 0.1 kilogram greater than the mean of masses of the rocks Andrew collected. What's the value of X? Okay, Maria's collecting rocks, and they're going to have a mean mass of 0.1 greater than what Andrew collected, so we have to calculate the mean mass of what Andrew collected. So to do this, we're going to have to sum all of those points for Andrew and then divide by 6. So we're going to have to plug that in our calculator, which I'm going to do now. Okay, so I'll do 2.7 plus 2.5 plus 3.1 plus 3.6 plus 2.5 plus 2.4. Okay, and then I divide by 6, and that's going to give me 2.8 for his mean. 2.8 is his mean. I know that it says that Maria is collecting 0.1 greater than the mean mass, so hers is going to have to be 2.9. So what I'm going to do then is I know 2.9 is going to have to equal the sum of all of these plus x all over 6. So I'm going to multiply 2.9 by 6 then. So I'll have 2.9 multiplied by 6. That's going to give me 17.4 then as the total mass that I need. And then I just take that, set it equal to the sum of all these numbers, right? So I'm going to have 17.4. I'm going to go ahead and subtract all of the 5 numbers that I know. So that's going to be 3.1 plus 2.7 plus 2.9 plus 3.3 plus 2.8 plus 2.8. And then at that point, that's going to give me my answer of 2.6 for number 36. Okay, so 2.6 is what I get when I do that, 2.6. Okay, so keep in mind what I did there is 17.4. I took that 2.9, multiplied it by 6, since there were 6 of these terms. That gave me 17.4. And at that point, I subtracted the sum of my 5 terms that I had. So the sum of the 5 terms that I had. Okay, that gave me 2.6. So my answer there is going to be 2.6. At that point, I move on to 37 and 38. Going down here, we've got 37. Jeremy deposited X dollars in his investment account on January 1 of 2001. The amount of the money in the account doubled each year until Jeremy had $480 in his investment account on January 1, 2005. What is the initial value of X? Okay, well, why did I set up my equation like this? Well, here's what I know. I know he's ending with $480. I know that that took place over a 4-year change from 2001 to 2005. I know it's doubling every year, so I put a 2 in for my because it's doubling every year. So if it doubles every year, I'm going to have 2 raised to the power of 4 because it happens for 4 different years. That's multiplied by my initial value. I know 2 to the 4th. I mean, I can plug it in my calculator real quick to check, but I believe that that's going to be 16. And it is 16. So I go ahead and divide each side by 16, cancel that. 480 over 16. That is going to give me, let's go ahead and see, 480, 16. I think it's 30. It is 30. So then X is going to equal 30. So 30 is going to be my answer there. Alright, so now I go ahead and move over to 38. We've got a school district forming a committee to discuss plans for the construction of a new high school. Of those invited, 15% parents, 45% teachers, 25% administrators. The remaining 6 are students. Okay, that's the key part there. How many more teachers were invited? Okay, keep in mind it's how many more teachers were invited to join the committee than school and district administrators. Alright, well I know that if I take this 25%, I add it to 45%, then I'm at 70%, 70% plus 15%, that's going to give me 85%. Okay, so then there's 15% left who are students. So it's 15% students. I know there's 6 students, so I've got 6 students over that 15% they represent, which can be rewritten as 0.15. I do that and I can find my total number of people there. Okay, that's going to be 40 people were there. Okay, so I've got 40 people there. Now I find the difference between the percentage of teachers and school and district administrators. That's going to be 45% minus 25%, which leaves me with 20%. So then I take that 40, multiply it by 0.2 to find that difference. Okay, I do that. That's going to give me 8. Okay, so there were 8 more teachers than school district administrators. Okay, so that one right there is not too difficult. Now I lost my timer on my screen, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quick stop it. I'm going to go to my video editor, see how much time I'm at. That way I know. I'll put it on a stopwatch then, and then I'll go through the rest of the timing as I normally would. Alright, so I saw that I got 17.5 minutes left, which is ideal, right? I talked about in the pacing video how you generally want to have anywhere from 20 minutes to 15 minutes left, right? And I talked about how the next thing that you're going to do after that is just go through and make sure that all your answers match what's in your test, what's in your answer sheet, right? So you're going to go through your test booklet, make sure all the answers you circled in your test booklet match up to your answer sheet, and then after you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to go through and check any problems that you starred as needing to check work, any problems that you were unsure of, any problems that you marked as being any problems you were hesitant on, right? So the order in which you'd go through it would be obviously number 1, any problems that you were unsure of your answer on, go work through those. Any problems you didn't know, work through those, obviously. After that, any problems that you marked as needing to check work on, check those. After that, check your work on anything that you were hesitant on. So rank is number 1, problems you don't know. Go ahead and do those first. Number 2, problems you were unsure of after you've gone through every problem that you didn't know or that you didn't know the answer to or that guessed on. First, go to those. Next, after doing those, go to any of them that you starred as needing to check work on. Then after that, go to any of them that you're just a little bit hesitant on. But first of all, I'm going to go ahead and account for the time of checking answers by just running through this. So I'll call it out: 1A, 2C, 3A, 4D, 5B, 6C, 7D, 8D, 9B, 10B, 11B, 12D, 13A, 14B, 15D, 16B, 17B, 18C, 19C, 20C, 21D, 22B, 23C, 24D, 25B, 26C, 27A, 28A, 29B, 30D, 31, 10, 32, 31, 33, 98, 34 is 5. I'll go ahead and circle 98 as well, so you just see that that's my answer there. All right, and then 35, 5 over 4, 36, 2.6, 37, 30, and then 38 is 8. All right, so at that point, I've checked all of them. So now at this point, what I'd do if I were you is any problems that I guessed on is I'd go through and I would work to solve them, right? So if there are any problems that you guessed on, go through, work through those, try to solve them. Any problems that you, after doing that, so first thing, obviously, any problems that you guessed on that you didn't know the answer to, go work on those first. Now, any problems that you, oh man, let me get a drink. Any problems that you start as needing to check work on, that's the second priority, so that's the next thing that you would do. And then after doing that, you would go through and do any problems you were hesitant on and check those work. And then after that point, if there's no more you were hesitant on, then just start checking problems starting at either 31 if you struggle with more with the free response, or at number 1 if you struggle more with multiple choice. All right, so with that, I've got about 14 minutes left here. So what I would be doing at this point is I just checked and matched everything in my bubble sheet to my answer sheet. So at this point, what I'd be wanting to work through would just be checking any work, right? So there weren't any problems that I was really hesitant on, except I think the only ones that where I hesitated a little bit. I can go try to find them. I think there was like one in the free response that I was a little hesitant on. Now I still know that it's the correct answer, but it was just one that I was like hesitated a little bit at first. This one right here, number 34. Okay, this one obviously I got it right, but I just hesitated at first. So this is really getting very, very kind of nitpicky, right? You're kind of really being pretty strict here. So obviously I know I got it right because I substituted in this x for y since I knew y equals x, and I solved for what x had to be because I knew that I was solving for a and a, right? So whatever x is whatever y was going to be. So answer there is obviously correct, but that's what I mean by hesitancy, right? You saw when I got to 34, it took me like 15 seconds or whatever to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with it because I was getting a little bit thrown off with this 0.00. So any questions like that, those are what I mean by questions you were hesitant on. So those would be ones that you'd be checking after you've already gone through and checked any of them that you, or worked through ones where you didn't know the correct answer yet, or that you were unsure of your answer, right? You kind of guessed after going through all of those. And then after that, going through any of them you start as needing to check your work. Then at that point, that's when you go to these questions that you just kind of hesitated on, right? So something where you didn't really know what direction to go at first, that's going to be the ones that I'm talking about when I say ones you were hesitant on. Then after doing all the ones you were hesitant on, then you just run it through either starting at 31 through 38 and checking all of that work if you struggle more with the free response generally, or if you generally struggle more with the multiple choice, starting at 1 and just going through and checking all your answers. Okay, so in this case, I've been doing this long enough. I know that all my answers are right, but I'll just go ahead and show you what I mean by kind of checking your work at the end. So, well, let's just say, for example, say that I struggled more with the free response, right? Then what I'd do is I'd start at 31 and check my work there. Okay, so I've got a group of friends deciding to split this $800 cost of a trip evenly among themselves. 2 of those friends decide not to go on that trip. Those remaining friends divide that $800 cost equally, but each friend's share increases by 20. How many friends were in the group originally? Well, I can say 800 over n being the number of original people is going to equal the original cost. I know my cost is increasing by 20 when the number of people decreases by 2. At that point, I just substitute in c in my equation. When I do that, I'm going to have this right here, 800n plus 20. I got to multiply each side by n to get rid of it. I got to multiply by my whole part here, right? That's why I have it in parentheses. Got to multiply my other side by n minus 2, right? I go ahead and do that. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other, so I got to multiply each side by the n times the n minus 2. When I do that, I get this equation right here, down here. Then I go ahead and simplify that one down. When I simplify that one, I set it equal to 0, factor out a 20. At that point, I'm factoring down to get factors of negative 80 that add to negative 2. That's going to be negative 10, and then that positive 8. So my answer there is going to have to be 10. So at that point, I've checked my answer for 31. For 32, what value of x satisfies the equation given above? At this point, I'm just distributing my 2 and then distributing my negative sign. Okay, so I distribute my 2, that's going to be 10x minus 40. So I've got 10x minus 40 minus 15, so that's going to be 10x minus 55. And then I got minus 8x, so that's going to give me 2x minus 55. I add 55 to each side. Now I've got 2x equals 62. 62 over 2, then it's going to give me 31. So that one at that point is checked as well. Okay, so I've checked both of these. Now I can just go down, check 33. Still got about 10 minutes left. I've got a lab, we've got a radius of 2 inches, internal height between 7.75 and 8. What's a possible volume? I know my formula for volume is going to be pi r squared times height. My radius is 2, therefore I'll have 4 pi times my height, in this case 7.8, which is between 7.75 and 8. It says that I'm rounding to the nearest cubic inch, which I already did, and that's going to give me 98. I can check it with my calculator again, which I'll go ahead and do right now. Right, I plug it into my calculator, and I see that that's going to give me 98, right? So that answer there is correct as well. All right, now I've checked 33. I can go ahead and check 34. In the xy plane, I've got a graph y equals 3x squared minus 14x. It's intersecting y equals x. I already checked this one when I talked about hesitancy, so I can mark that one as checked because I did check it when I talked about the hesitancy problems. 35, I've got a line down here. It's graphed in the xy plane. X coordinate of x-intercept. X-intercept is when y equals 0, so I plug in a 0 there. I've got 4/5 x equals 1. I got to multiply by my reciprocal, which will be 5 over 4. Answer there, 5 over 4. That one's correct. Over here, these are also good questions that you should check your work on, right? If you have any question dealing with means or medians, means and medians are great ones if you're done with everything, right, and you're just kind of going through and checking your work. These are great ones to check your work on because if you plug in one accidental number on your calculator, you're going to get your mean wrong. So these are actually great ones to check your work on. So this would be a perfect example of one where I'm done with everything. I've already checked all of the ones I was unsure of, checked everything I was hesitant on. This would be an example of a great problem that I'd want to check, right? Anything with a mean like this, where having one digit wrong on your calculator, where you're plugging in all of these digits, can make your answer wrong. That's a great one to check. Okay, so in this case, this one is one I'll go ahead and do. So I'm going to go ahead and find the mean for Andrew again. So I'll do 2.4 plus 2.5 plus 3.6 plus 3.1 plus 2.5 plus 2.7 divided by 6. That's going to give me 2.8, which I had. Okay, so that means I'm going to do 2.9, then multiply it by that 6 to get my total I need for Maria. Then I'm going to go ahead and subtract that 3.1 plus 3.1 plus 2.7 plus 2.9 plus 3.3 plus 2.8. Okay, when I do that, that's going to leave me with 2.6, so I know that that one's correct as well. Okay, at this point, I've got about 7.5 minutes left. I'm just going to keep checking work. I've got Jeremy depositing X dollars in his investment account. The amount's doubling each year, so I'm going to put a 2 right there. That's correct. I see that he totals 480. I've got that, so that one's correct. I see that this happens for 4 years, from 2001 to 2005, so I've got it to the power of 4. That's correct. Solving for x, then I know 2 to the 4th is 16. Dividing each side by 16, that's going to be 30, so that one's correct as well. 38, I see that I'm asked to find how many more teachers there are than district administrators. Given that there are 6 students, I know that that's going to be 15% plus 45%, 60% plus 25, that's 80%. Therefore, 15% are students. So I take that 6 divided by 0.15. That means I got 40 total people. Okay, 40 total people, multiply that by the difference in the percentages of teachers and school and district administrators, which is 45% minus 25%. That's 0.2 then. I take 0.2, multiply by 40, and I get 8. That one's also checked. Okay, so at this point, I've got about 6 or 7 minutes left, so I can just kind of go back. I'll look to see if we have any other mean questions like that, and I would check those ones. Okay, now keep in mind that me kind of going around and checking these, right? You probably have more problems. I'm guessing it's possible that you have more problems, right, that you're unsure of. So if you're not able to just go through and kind of check these like I am, don't worry about it. If you have to go back and check unsure problems first, do that. Okay, don't worry about checking. If you're worrying about checking a mean question when you are pretty confident in that answer, go ahead and check any questions that you're more unsure of than a mean question, right? Don't worry about that. The number one priority in checking work is checking answers that you aren't sure are correct, right? Any question that you weren't sure of your answer or had to guess, that's first priority for going back and working on those, because those ones are the ones you're most likely to get wrong. So that's first priority after you've answered everything else, is going back and working through the ones you had to guess on or ones that you were unsure of. And then second priority to that is any of them that you marked as having to check your work. And then third priority to that is any questions you were hesitant on. And then I'd say fourth priority to that would be anything like a mean or median question. And then after that, you're just running through 31 through 38 or running from 1. So yeah, that's really the big things there. I'm looking for a mean or a median question. I think I passed one while I was talking about that. So let me just roll back down. I think I had a median question that I went over as I was talking through that. It's right here. So 22, I see that I'm asked for the median number. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel. I see I cancel 1, 2, 3, 4 here. I'll cancel 4 up here. I'll cancel 4 up top again. Cancel 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, at this point I'll cancel 1, 2. Cancel 1, 2. I still have 1 left from this 3. So my median there is going to be 15. So that one's checked as well. And I've still got 5 minutes. So I'll just check any other ones that I think are possible that I could have gotten. I mean, I know I got all these right, but I can just check other ones just to kind of show you what I mean by checking work, right? What's the sum of the solutions? I got x minus 6, so one solution is going to be 6, x plus 0.7, so one solution is going to be negative 0.7. The sum of them is going to be 5.3, so that one's checked. 21, that one right there. These ones are the ones I'd check last. Anything where you have to spend a lot of time reading, those would be the ones that I'd check work on last, because they're going to take the longest to check, and generally you want to check as many as you can, right? So the ones that I'd be looking to check would be ones like these, right? Easy ones to check when you just got to manipulate terms, find answers numerically. Those ones are really easy to check. In this case, I'm manipulating solving for h, so I'll have 25 then, got to subtract d from each side to get rid of it there. So now I'm going to have 25 minus d. Okay, I got to divide each side by 2 to get h, so 25 minus d over 2, which can also be rewritten as multiplied by 1/2. I see that I have that answer right there as b, so that one's checked as well. Let's go ahead and we'll do 19 as well while we're here. We've got a riser height, it's got to be between 7 and 8 inches. It's got to be an odd number. It's got to have a tread depth. What's the tread depth? Have to be in inches. Okay, I got 9 feet, multiplying that by 12, that gives me 108 inches. Take that 108 inches, dividing it by 7 and dividing it by 8, finding the odd number between them. Odd number between them is going to be 15, so I take that 108 divided by 15, get 7.2 as my height. Plugging in my height into my equation, that's going to be 7.2 times 2 is going to give me 10.4. Okay, keep in mind that I'm over on this left part of my screen now, looking at 2h plus d equals 25. 2 times 7.2 is 14.4. 25 minus 14.4. That's going to leave me with 10.6 equals d, so that one's checked as well. At this point, I've still got 3 minutes, so I can just keep going through and checking work. I see right here I've got linear growth increasing by 14 over 4 at every step. Only option with 14 over 4 as a slope is 7 over 2x, so that one's correct as well. I've got a geometry problem on my right here. Okay, that's going to be, that was my alarm. That was not the timer. I've still got a couple minutes left. So now looking at my problem number 16, I take a look at it, right? I see that I've got a 32 and a 58 as my degree angles, right? Obviously that's correct. I see BC then. BC is from 58 to there, 58 to here. That's going to be DF. Got that. And then AB is hypotenuse and DE is hypotenuse. So that one's correct as well. All right, so there's really just a couple problems left that I can check if I want to. We've got solving right here for x minus y. At this point, I have 2 minutes left, so really at this point, I just kind of like to wrap up and kind of touch on a few things. So keep in mind that as I go through and I'm checking my work here, if this was the real SAT, I'd be checking it a lot faster, right? I'd be taking it very, very seriously. And I take checking my work after I go through and answer everything. I take it very, very seriously. I go through and I try to check as many problems as I can. I move very, very quickly, and that's how I recommend you check your work as well. So just keep in mind here that when I'm doing this walkthrough, you know, in my opinion, when you take the SAT, you want to take it really serious and you want to expend a lot of energy. And I'm not about to spend a lot of energy or expend a lot of energy kind of doing this, because I do it every day and you can't expend that much energy every day. So keep in mind, if I were taking the real SAT, I would be zooming through checking all the answers that I can in that last 15-20 minutes I have. But in this case, since I don't want to expend all that energy and be tired for the rest of the day, I'm not doing that. But if I were you taking the SAT, after you answer all your questions for that math section, you want to go back and you want to check your work on as many as you can. So you want to kind of be zooming through, trying to answer and check your work on as many of them as you can. So I would really be trying to really push the pace, check all my work as much as I can on as many problems as I can. So I would really be flying through, and it's possible maybe sometime in the next 90 days I'll just take a day and just kind of show you how quickly I would be checking my work, and I'd expend all that energy doing it. But yeah, so hopefully that was helpful for today. I've got about 45 seconds left, I believe. Hopefully you were able to kind of see how you did problems versus how I did them. So you saw that I finished in about 37.5 minutes, right, leaving me about 17.5 minutes to check my work. So that's right in the middle of that ideal range, in my opinion, for as far as how much time you have left to check your work. So hopefully you were able to kind of compare how long it took you to solve problems versus how long it took me, and kind of take a look at my approach to problem solving and see if it was if you struggled with time before, maybe you saw some things where you could save time answering some problems. Hopefully that happened. I tried to use the most efficient way to solve most of them while also kind of showing my work. So for example, the question where it talked about people having a cost being split between different people, that one right there, it could kind of be solved if you just kind of noticed that it was going to be a 10 and an 8 there. But if you didn't notice that, then that's kind of like, I wanted to show you the way that you can solve it algebraically, right? Because you don't always want to just be, you don't want to just be guessing answers. Sometimes it'll be kind of obvious right there if you just throw in a 10 and an 8 kind of thinking like that, because you kind of look at the difference of 20 and kind of think about those numbers. But not always, which is why I wanted to show you how to solve it algebraically. But really the big thing here for today is just taking a look at pacing, right? I wanted to show you how to pace through that SAT math with calculator section, and then help you kind of compare how you're doing as far as what steps you're taking to solve versus what steps I'm taking, kind of give you that idea as well in case you were struggling with time. So if yesterday you only finished with like 5 minutes left, hopefully this video helped you kind of see a faster way to solve your problems, kind of gave you a refresher on the tricks that I use to solve problems a bit quicker and things like that. So with that, as always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. There'll be a donation link in the description when it's up and running. Any private SAT tutoring I'm doing will be linked in the description. Any private college admissions consulting I'm doing will be linked in the description. And as always, make sure to have a good day.